In this episode, we're going to be giving you 5 land flipping tips for beginners to make it easy for you to go from 0 to 100K fast. So, Mike, let's get right into these tips. The first tip you have here is, so just for a little bit of background before we get into the tips, if you're new to land flipping, the main way to find land to flip is by sending mail. And so the first tip you have here is to send enough mail, because you think a lot of people starting out, they're just not sending enough mail, and I think this is something that we might have done when we first started this.
Right. So the way that we do land flipping is we find people who own vacant property. We send mail to them wherever they're located at, and we say, hey, we want to buy your property. And so a lot of times people will say, no, screw you. And a lot of other times you have people who just have this piece of dirt that they're not doing anything with, and it's a right place, right time kind of thing, and it's a numbers game. So number one, if you're new to this and you're not sending out a lot of mail, you're not going to be able to get the necessary feedback, because maybe you mail one place, you send out a few hundred letters, you screw it up, and no one calls you back. Now you say, okay, you got nothing out of that. So you need to be able to send enough mail to where you get a lot of feedback in, and you can learn from that. You can decide what you like to do, what you don't like to do, etc.
Right. Maybe your pricing was a little bit off. You just need to get a critical mass of feelers out there to get some sort of information back.
Exactly. And this takes us into the next point, which is to find your niche. So maybe you send out mail, you start sending out, 3,000 pieces of mail a month, 5,000 pieces of mail a month, whatever have you. And you decide, hey, whenever I buy these 1 acre properties in this area, it's kind of a pain in the ass, because I got to deal with people who want to do surveys. I got to deal with people who want to do perk tests, etc. And a lot of these different things are very dependent upon the area. If you're in the desert, no one needs to do a perk test to see if a property is going to be able to put a septic system on. Or if it's a cheaper property, probably no one's going to want to do a survey. But there are some areas where this becomes more of a factor. So maybe you decide, hey, I like mailing this one state, this acreage range, etc. I know I'm not going to run into issues. I like, these transactions seem easy. So now you've sort of found your niche, and you can kind of go forward and have better expectations of what's going to happen when you send out mail to that area.
All right. So that brings us to tip number 3, which is to find a realtor kind of on the ground that can go in, do some of the work for you. Because if you're mailing places that are far away from where you live, you're not really going to be able to visit those places. So you need someone you can trust to get in there and see what's going on.
Right. And the last thing you want is to buy a property that looks kind of good on the outside. And we go through a lot of due diligence to confirm if something is good or not, if it's a good buy. And we've certainly bought and sold properties and made a lot of money on them without realtors. But I can say for sure that when you have a good realtor, it makes life so much easier, because they handle essentially the whole sell side of the process for you.
Right.
Because realistically, what we're doing is we're finding property, land, we're buying it cheaply compared to other prices and properties in the area, and then we're just going ahead and reselling it. So the issue comes in, you need to be sure that you're buying property below market value. And who better to tell you that than a good realtor? So they can go out to the property for you before you even buy it, let you know, hey, this has a bunch of junk on it, or there's something going on here that may not make it as desirable, and you can avoid any headache that would come from having a bad acquisition.
Got it. So tip number 4 is to up your price range. If you want to go from 0 to $100,000 profit in a year flipping land, it's going to be hard to do that if you're selling $100 or $1,000 properties. You're going to have to sell 100 properties.
I don't know. I can't think about the math right now. I've had too much caffeine. But I know when we started out, we were buying properties maybe for $3,000 to $5,000, and then we were selling them for maybe $10,000. And so while you can make, $3,000 a property, like in profit, $5,000, nothing to sneeze at, especially if you just sell one of those a month, you're making $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month. That's not bad. But we're talking about getting to $100,000 profit a year. So realistically, 100,000 divided by 12 is what, Joe?
Oh, come on. Don't make me do this.
Okay. It's $8,500 a month, I think. So what you want, realistically, if you could sell one property a month and make $8,500 on that property, you're going to get to that $100,000 profit price point. So you could do that, or you could say, hey, I want to make $20,000 on a property, and now you only have to sell 5 a year to get that $100,000 price point.
Right. So, Mike, we're talking about some pretty high price points here. If you're just getting started, maybe you don't have the money for that. So that brings us to tip number 5, which is to consider assignments. Now, what exactly is an assignment, and how can someone use it to their advantage if they want to get to this $100,000 per year mark, but maybe they don't have the funds to buy all the property, and or their funds are tied up in properties that they've already bought?
Right. So when you up your price range, maybe, yeah, this is outside of the amount of money that you feel comfortable with. So aside from assignments, we'll get into in a second, there are also people that will be willing to fund your deals, and they have a kind of higher bankroll if they get a cut of the profit. So we do this all the time. We have people we reach out to when we have a property, say we don't want to spend our money on, maybe because we have too many other properties coming up, etc. And they'll fund our deal, and we just basically get the property in. We didn't pay anything for it. We have to market it, and then once we sell it, then we split the profit. So it works out for them because they're not doing anything. They're just putting in the money. Works out for us because we don't have to put in anything up front. We just have to do the marketing, and everyone's happy. So you can do that. But also, even as you get into bigger price points, there is assigning. And so what an assignment is basically if you have a contract to buy a property, then you can go and you can essentially sell that contract to someone else. So say you are going to buy a property for $50,000, and you know it could be sold for $200,000. So if you bought that yourself, you would make $150,000. But if you don't have that money, or you don't want to do that headache, if there's like a lot of properties involved, if it's just not something you want to be a part of, there may be people who will be willing to buy that contract from you. So they're going to pay $50,000 for the property, and they're also going to pay you an assignment fee just for finding the deal. And so we've done this in the past. We've gotten assignments for up to $80,000. We've done ones for $20,000, $30,000, and that's what comes to us as basically profit.
Got it.
Joe, the legs are getting higher and higher as the episode goes on.
I know. I gotta stretch. I gotta stay loose.
I feel you. You're gonna be behind your head by the time this ends. So
Mike, if people want to learn how to sell grass the legal way on 420, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that they can go to buildassetsonline.com/land, sign up for the mailing list, the early bird special list, and get early bird access and pricing to our land course, because our students have literally been begging us for a year, probably over a year, to teach them how to flip land. Maybe they started building their drop shipping stores. They're successful at that. They want to reinvest in another area. So if they go to buildassetsonline.com/land, they can get access to the early bird pricing if they sign up for the email waiting list. Is that right?
That is 100% correct. And this has been long awaited. People have been asking us about this. And yeah, this is exactly what we've been doing over the last couple of years to generate some pretty serious income alongside our dropshipping stores, alongside our content sites. And yeah, we're very excited to tell you guys all about it.
All right, Mike. And the final tip?
Take it easy.